Perspective gap. We think we understand what other people value, but we don't really know what they want. You can see this with wedding gifts. If you track what receivers want, they prefer to get what's on their registry because they got to pick it out. But most givers will actually choose something unique instead, thinking that it's more thoughtful. And this is a mistake that we make in leadership all the time. We assume that we know what our employees need or our customers need, as opposed to actually asking them.
Today we are talking about the gap. The gap is a reference to the difference between science and practice. In Adam Grant's workplace, it is the divide between actually knowing what people want and just assuming we are doing what people want. I'm Kelsie Sager, and follow along with me as we explore the study of Adam Grant and his ideas on human interaction. Adam Grant is an organizational psychologist and best-selling author who values building a more generous workplace through human interaction. He was voted Wharton's top-rated professor for 7 years straight. Human interaction occurs in our everyday lives. Human interaction in the workplace is between employees. It's when employees behave towards one another, whether it's a positive or a negative. It is the way we talk to one another, listen to one another, help one another, or even discourage one another. There are many ways where we interact with others. Any of our actions are considered human interactions, and they occur within a business every single day. The next clip is from the famous TV show, The Office. It is a comedy show, but this is a good example of an aggressive human interaction.
Talk louder.
Okay, our prices have never been lower.
Son, you have to talk louder.
Never been lower.
Louder, son!
Buttlicker! Our prices have never been lower!
Okay, stop it. That is totally inappropriate. You should never yell at the client.
Now
Never
you listen to
yell at the
me,
client.
sir.
Here we go.
The 3 words I would describe you as is aggressive, hostile, and definitely difficult.
Please, Mr. Butler.
I'm irate right
Give
now.
me the phone.
Please give me
He's
another
irate.
chance.
Give me the phone.
Mr. Buttlicker.
Give me the phone.
I have to put you on with my boss.
Well, I should hope so.
According to Adam Grant, there are 2 types of people in this world. Kind of 3. The takers, givers, and the third type, the matchers. A taker is someone who specifically thinks what a person can do for them, while a giver is actually the opposite and always thinking, what can I do for this person? The third style is actually what most people are, and it is right in the middle of giving and taking. They are called matchers. They try to find the even balance. It is kind of like a favor in return for a favor. According to Grant, in his TED Talk titled, Are You a Giver or a Taker? This is just one style, what they do most of the time, like their default. In the next slide is actually a quiz he provided to let you know which you default to. An example of takers today would be the ones during the COVID-19 pandemic. During the pandemic, people would hoard toilet paper, hand sanitizer, food, and any necessities. Now moving on to givers. Givers will not seek anything in return. They just keep on giving and putting others before themselves. Many organizations are strongly pushing towards this generous behavior. It will help the company flourish and grow quickly. In an article by Grant, Givers and Takers Who Are the Best in the Workplace, Grant mentioned how he studied 3 groups of people: engineering, medicine, and sales. Across all of them, givers had the worst numbers. They were constantly putting others first. Therefore, they ran out of the time and energy to work for themselves. However, the workers with the highest results were also the givers, the ones who were most driven to help others. The givers that weren't successful were the ones who were burned out. Grant believes that givers make the company better. It is important that we give them a healthy workplace to help them grow and succeed to always be the healthiest version of themselves. If you look on the graphic, you can see that the givers occupy both the highest sales revenue and the lowest sales revenue. We need to figure out in the workplace how to keep all givers in the highest sales revenue.
The first thing that's really critical is to recognize that givers are your most valuable people, but if they're not careful, they burn out. So you have to protect the givers in your midst.
Protecting from burnout. Givers need to set boundaries, stop themselves from doing too much, and not thinking about themselves. Ever. They reach a point where they are allowing others to use them and they can no longer be taken advantage of. In Grant's article, Who are the best performers in the workplace? He talks about the 5-minute favors, adding large value to people's lives at a little personal cost. Givers need to try to use this concept because it will set the boundaries needed while still getting the opportunity to pour it into people.
Culture where givers succeed is you actually need a culture where help seeking is the norm, where people ask a lot. This may hit a little too close to home for some of you. What you see with successful givers is they recognize that it's okay to be a receiver too. And if you run an organization, we can actually make this easier. We can make it easier for people to ask for help.
Number 2 is to encourage help seeking. Givers need to be able to open up and trust that they can rely on someone. Help from others within your job will provide teamwork and a stronger community. In Adam Grant's Givers Take All, the hidden dimension of corporate culture, he talks about research done that shows the single strongest predictor of group effectiveness was the amount of help the analysts gave to each other. The highest performing teams had time investments in coaching, teaching, and talking with their peers. When givers seek help, they will experience significant benefits in bettering their workplace.
Thing, if you want to build a culture of successful givers, is to be thoughtful about who you let onto your team. I figured you want a culture of productive generosity, you should hire a bunch of givers. But I was surprised to discover, actually, that that was not right. That the negative impact of a taker on a culture is usually double to triple the positive impact of a giver.
Number 3 is to get the right people on the bus. In Grant's article, Persuading the Unpersuadable, he opens it up with a story about Steve Jobs. He said that Jobs was against making a phone. His team had to push him into creating it, and the iPhone is now one of the most used phones. He changed the world with that phone, and it was simply because he chose to be around people that encouraged him and knew how to change his mind. It is all about who we surround ourselves with. When the givers feel like they are surrounded by the wrong people, they will retreat and no longer want to help. Through Adam Grant's extensive study, we have learned about the 2 or 3 types of people. The goal for corporations should be to fill their company with all kinds of givers, primarily the healthy ones. Healthy givers are the ones who produce the most sales revenue, and cultivating an environment for them to work in is done in 3 easy steps. A workplace must perform these to help their givers excel and weed out the takers. Givers are a vital component to businesses, and they must be cared for properly. Thank you for listening to me, and I hope you enjoyed.